PNGDF clears air on new base on Manus. Minister says Civil Aviation is APEC ready. And Mount Hagen General running out of TB drugs.
This is National MTV News with Meriba Tulo.
A very good evening. Thank you for joining us. This is Monday's news. The Papua New Guinea Defense Force has denied any plans with the Australian government to set up a new base at the PNGDF naval base in Manus province. PNGDF Commander Gilbert Torpo says that as part of the ongoing partnership between the two countries, they want to improve logistical support for the new naval vessels that will be replacing the ones currently in use. Commander Torpo's comments come 1 month after an Australian newspaper reported that Australia was setting up a military base in Lombrum.
The PNGDF commander, in a statement released last Friday, states that PNGDF is not having discussions with Australia to build a new naval base in Lombrum. Instead, it is preparing for the arrival of 4 new Guardian-class patrol boats, which will be replacing the Pacific-class patrol boats. The arrival of these boats marks the transition of PNGDF Navy, moving on to using bigger patrol boats for sea surveillance under the Australia's Pacific Maritime Security Program. In September, Australian media published a story that indicated that Australia will be setting up a military base in Manus. The news came as a surprise for Papua New Guinea. NCD Governor Powes Pakop had expressed disappointment in the manner in which the news was leaked to Australian media.
The way in which this information has come out, it's like preempting us again to make a decision, a policy decision that it's still under consideration. So it's like a deja vu again that the early days of the asylum plan is coming up again.
In an earlier story MTV ran, former PNGDF commander, retired Major General Jerry Singirok, said Australia's intentions may be good, but he asks what the benefits were for having a military presence in Papua New Guinea.
If Australia at the moment is thinking of establishing a base or series of bases in Papua New Guinea and getting involved physically, then it calls for a public debate. And at the moment, there's absence of public debate, let alone the absence of debate on the floor of Parliament, because that's a strategic move.
Thekla Gunga, National MTV News.
In preparation for the 2018 APEC meeting next month, Civil Aviation Minister Alfred Manasseh says his ministry is APEC ready. Minister Manasseh says Jackson's International Airport will be able to park more than 5 Boeing 747 aircraft on its tarmac. He says the airport and its facilities are CASA compliant.
Minister Manasseh outlined work that has been completed and a few that are soon to be finished at Jackson's International Airport. He said the National Airports Corporation in the last 6 months has overlaid the runway at a cost of 65 million kina. The runway was resealed and work was completed in August this year.
Now there is work being done on the land side. The apron redevelopment. We're working towards parking 5 or 6 bigger 747s, and the work on that's running smoothly. We've got Ebo and Global doing that work.
Work on the airport's tarmac will be completed by the end of this month. A new VIP terminal will also be completed, which will be used specifically to process all APEC delegates. After APEC, it will be open for public use. Manasseh says 4 aero bridges will be completed in early November at the international airport.
Being done with a load of work that's being done 24 hours by the contractors and the team from NAC, and I'm so pleased that our engineers at the National Airport Corporation have had sleepless nights just to ensure that the project is completed within 3 months.
Manus says PNG Air Services have upgraded their technologies to world standard and will be able to coordinate all flights in and out of the country. They have upgraded their satellites and are able to track flights from 200 miles. Vasinata Yama, National EMTV News, Mount Hagen.
Mount Hagen General Hospital is running out of tuberculosis drugs. Hospital staff are concerned the patients can develop multi-drug resistant TB. Some of the patients were brave enough to come out to the media, pleading with the National Health Department to do something quickly.
Patients who turned up at the TB department this morning to get their daily doses found out that the hospital had no drugs left to give them.
Sim dose for me now and me missing now. I'm life for me by me continue gain also. Supply no gaten by mixing way. Life for me is important.
The last lot of supplies finished last week. Those who came today were told they won't be supplied any drugs. These includes others who were scheduled for the other days as well. For a TB patient, any break in treatment has serious consequences. If a patient misses 1 day of treatment, they will develop multi-drug resistant or MDR TB, the kind seen in the Western Province. The hospital is currently treating 8 MDR patients. Apart from patients with normal TB, 2 have died recently.
Please, government must put in first priority something.
Western Highlands Provincial Health Authority has looked elsewhere to get some drugs, but has so far been unsuccessful. Hospitals in other Highlands provinces are facing the same problem. Patients are pleading the national government to address this issue.
How many lives are going to be lost? They're talking about APEC and millions of Kenyan being spent on transport and all these things, but what about the very lives of the ordinary Papua New Guineans, which we cannot afford to buy our own medication?
The hospital does not know when new stock will arrive. The multi-drug resistant TB drug is very expensive and currently it is being bought by donors and given to hospitals. Vasinata Yama, National EMTV News, Mount Hagen.
EMTV's Lay Bureau Chief Scott Wyde has encouraged final year students of Divine Word University to identify their purpose in what they are doing so that it has a meaning. Mr. Wyde, who gave the keynote address during the 7th missioning ceremony of the university, encouraged the students to find their calling and higher purpose. He said finding a higher purpose in what they do will ensure that they leave behind a lasting legacy.
EMTV's Bureau Chief Scott Wyde took the students on a personal journey it took 10 years ago when he started as a freshman at Divine Word. Mr. Wyde told students his journey had brought him to where he is and helped him find his higher calling or purpose in life.
I wasn't just telling the stories now with this knowledge that I had gained and the understanding that I had. I was writing with a purpose. I was writing with a higher purpose. I told other people about the difficulties that my people faced. It started a process of education for the country and for the people around that area.
Mr. Wyde told the final year students, finding a greater purpose is not about themselves, but about those around them, including their family and friends.
And the bottom line is that higher purpose is never about you. It's about everyone around you. It's about your community, it's about your family, it's about the people you don't know, and ultimately it's about the planet.
Divine Word University has started inviting former students back to the university to talk to its final year students on what to expect out in the workforce after completing their studies. This year's missionary ceremony, EMTV's late Bureau Chief Scott Wyde was invited to give the keynote address to the 336 students.
In the last 3 years, we have been inviting our own alumni to come and share with our fourth years what they can expect in the workplace.
The missioning ceremony is an annual event introduced by the university in 2011 as an occasion to mark the completion of studies by final year students. The students received a DW pendant in the shape of a cross after it was blessed to indicate that students are now ready to go into the workforce.
But during the 4 years they've been here, we expect that they have submitted themselves to the core values of the university.
Martha Luis, National EMTV News, Medang.
Grade 8 students around the country are sitting for their final examinations this week. They started today with written expression and will end on Thursday with combined subjects. Waigani Christian College Deputy Principal, Admin and Academic Robert Kauna says over 300,000 students are sitting for their exams nationwide.
Today, MTV visited 2 schools in the nation's capital that had their graded students sitting for their exams. The Waigani Christian College has 65 students sitting for their national exams today. Deputy Principal, Admin and Academic Robert Kauna says the college gives second chances to students who did not make it through the normal education system.
8 students here, if they are successful and if they are selected they go through the selection process just like our grade 10 and the grade 8s. So if the grade 8s do not make it into grade 9, then they fall back to Waigani Christian College. So we give them another opportunity to continue to grade 10 and then sit another exam. And our grade 10 students, if they meet the selection criteria to be selected into system schools, then they compete to secure a space there. But if they do not make it through, then they fall back to Waigani Christian College, and we offer them the opportunity to do grade 11 and 12 here to sit another exam.
Mr. Kauna said they have a permanent chaplain at the campus that provides the students with spiritual guidance, and they have qualified teachers that provide the best education to the students starting from elementary all the way to grade 12.
We, like any other school, though we are dealing with, students who have been rejected from the system, but, the teachers here are very committed. And they spend their time, they spend extra time in terms of preparation and planning to actually deal with these students because these are special kids, unlike the system schools. So they need special attention, and therefore we have a full-time chaplain in the school, and of course teachers are very experienced.
Kam Memorial Adventist Primary School has 207 plus students sitting for their exams this year. Head teacher Nida Blunt says they have 4 graded classes with a ratio of 50 plus students to 1 teacher, and she said this is too much for a teacher to teach. Kam Memorial Primary School is run by the Seventh-day Adventist Church. The graded exam started with written expression today, English tomorrow, Math on Wednesday, and ends on Thursday with combined subjects. Rayon Lakingu, National EMTV News.
A week after the announcement of the inaugural flight to mainland China, Niugini has decided to defer the much-anticipated commercial flight. In a media statement, the national carrier advised that due to a busy schedule during APEC and the upcoming Christmas holidays, it would defer the inaugural flight to a later date. Niugini said the airline and partners have invested heavily in setting up operations in mainland China. They also advised all customers will be offered a full refund without penalty or reroutes via alternative Air Niugini destinations. You're watching National EMTV News this Monday. We go for a break and be back with more of the day's stories after these messages. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. Beyond Correctional Institute in Medang is looking at reintroducing a COCO project as one of its rehabilitation programs. Beyond Commander Chief Inspector Andrew Paulus says there is an existing COCO plantation in the area. However, it has not been used for a long time. Prisoners are now clearing the plantation area to have it ready for them to plant new COCO seedlings.
Rehabilitation programs offered at jails around the country are important in restoring prisoners' health or normal life through training and therapy. These programs help prisoners prepare for life after incarceration. Here at Beyond Jail, prisoners are engaged in many different programs. Now they are thinking of bringing back the cocoa project for prisoners.
Now we are trying to rehabilitate the cocoa. We have a cocoa plantation here, but since I came in, nobody's working at that area. So I have appointed an officer to work with the prisoners there to clean the cocoa, and we are looking forward to plant new ones.
But the biggest program so far in Beyond is piggery. Here at the small farm, they breed pigs and make sure piglets are in good health before they are transferred to another booth ready to sell to customers. Pigs are sold at 13 kina per kilo. The price of the pigs depends on the weight of the pig customers want to buy.
Long pig, time me plus selling pig. Me plus weigh him 13 kina per kilo. So pig suppose I make 60 kilo, so when we 10 kilo, you times by 13, and that will give us the me plus weigh him. That is big long machine standard. No, here I'm up long also.
Breeding area.
Breeding area. This is the breeding area.
The money generated from the different programs goes back to help the facility. Garden foods planted in the prison garden goes back for their own consumption, while the supplies are sold at the market. The public is encouraged to support prisoners with these programs. Mathalubi's National MTV News, Medang.
The National AIDS Council Secretariat recently presented condoms, lubricants and HIV/AIDS brochure materials to all police stations in the National Capital District, as well as the Kwikila Police Station in Central Province. The exercise began at the beginning of this month and ended on the 13th. And NEC's Advocacy and Social Mobilization Manager, Valentine Tango, said police stations were in strategic locations and had constant interaction with communities, so it was logical to present them the items. He added that this was one of NEC's strategic partnerships with state agencies and the private sector in the drive to promote safer sex practices. NEC intends to take the partnership with the police force nationwide. However, Mr. Tango says this depends on funding. He is encouraging other disciplined forces and private sector partners to partner with NEC for the same cause going forward. Students studying under the University of Papua New Guinea's Open College will now access teaching materials via the internet and live streaming. In an effort to upgrade its teaching delivery, UPNG's Open College today opened a multimedia studio. The studio will enable the production of multimedia material as well as interactive live video streaming of tutorials.
The new studio is in line with the university's new strategic plan. UPNG's acting Vice-Chancellor, Vincent Malaibe, said the opening of the studio is timely as the university plans on introducing master's and PhD programs. As part of this plan, Mr. Malaibe said there are plans to unload some undergraduate students to open colleges.
We want most of our undergraduate program to be offered by distance, because university wants to go and to postgraduate studies. We want to be able to move this university to the point where we want to offer masters and PhD. So at the postgraduate level. And to do that, we had to unload some of the undergraduate programs to Open College.
UPNG Open College, through its centers throughout the country, facilitates the open and distance education programs. Lecturers in the university's main campus in Port Moresby will now use the studio to record lectures. The recordings will be sent to each center. Students will also be able to access live streaming of mentoring and tutorial sessions via live conferencing systems such as Zoom and social media site Facebook.
When they listen to a video recording, there is clarity in the mind. so that they can learn better, rather than cut and paste, and you are not developing other skills like analytical ability, logical ability, and basically thinking systematically.
Mr. Malaibe added that the studio will cut down on costs for the Open College.
Lecturers going to the centers and getting the support to students to clarify issues that they have difficulty in the course. We could not sustain the cost. As you know, in PNG, the only mode of traveling quickly is by air. It's very expensive. And so this studio is part of our plan to reach as many people.
Students studying through distant education will be given flash drives to access the multimedia teaching materials. Charlene Airy, National MTV News.
Prime Minister Peter O'Neill was in his electorate to officially open the district's Community Justice Service Centre. The centre contains the office of the coordinators of the National District, Mediation and Village Court. Department of Justice and Attorney General Secretary Lawrence Kalinoy said the centre will play a key role in addressing law and order issues within the district.
Mr. O'Neill officially opened the District Community Justice Service Centre.
It gives me great pleasure now to officially open the Community Justice Service Center for Yalabu and Pangia. Thank you very much. God bless you, Lord.
Department of Justice Service and Attorney General Secretary Lawrence Kalinoy said the center would assist addressing different issues of law and order in the district.
Law side law, village courts, land mediation, law probation services, parole, juvenile justice. Now law side law, narcotics, substance abuse, marijuana, and all problem law is latu. So all by coordinating law work, escalating, salim kam law mibla law department, law side law district, all by work underneath law. Lookout CEO Block District.
The centre will also play a key role in communication with the district and the head office in Port Moresby.
On land mediators, online work on the community justice issues. Los sideball village court officer land mediators. Now Baral got one law come lodging or complaints law, queries law, officer lawyer by Salim or Leblaw Goran. So people can straighten maybe more in a more faster way.
Meanwhile, the centre opening was also attended by Minister for Higher Education and Imbongu MP Pila Niningi and the Chief Secretary to Government Isaac Lupari. Adelaide Xerox Kari, National MTV News.
A 42-year-old refugee in Manus is recovering from injuries to his forehead after he was assaulted by a local last Saturday. The victim, Ali Razami from Iran, is married to a local woman and resides at Ward 5 near the Manus Provincial Government Office. Police say Razami was hit with a piece of iron on his right eye and was rushed to the hospital for treatment. The perpetrator is known to police and police are confident they will apprehend him soon. Manus Police Boss Chief Inspector David Yapu has encouraged locals to respect refugees who have married local women. Here with National MTV News this Monday, we go for a break. When we come back, we take a look at stories making headlines overseas. Welcome back to the news. The Leh District Court for the 5th time has adjourned the case of 4 Chinese men who entered the country illegally. The defendants pleaded guilty last Friday on one count of entering false information on the entry permit, while another was also guilty for making false declaration for the purpose of obtaining an entry permit or visa. The delay of the court decision was due to the delay of a submission for sentencing by the defendant's lawyer that was requested by Magistrate Edward Kupo during the trial. The court decision was adjourned to Wednesday this week.
Leh's District Court Magistrate Edward Kupo was told last week Friday by officers from the Immigration and Citizenship Authority in Leh the 2 charges from the 4 charges made to the 4 Chinese men were identified to be wrong. The 2 offences of the Migration Act removed were entry into the country with valid permit, and in possession of an entry permit without lawful authority. All 4 defendants were guilty for entering false information on entry permit, while the 4th defendant, Lee Yudong, was also guilty for making false declaration to obtain an entry permit or visa. These men originate from Fujian province in China. They were employed with the Sunny Limited Company, a Chinese-owned factory in Leh that produces lipo juice and purified water. In July, the Leh police, through the assistance of PNG Immigration in Leh, arrested these men on 3 separate charges for illegally entering the country. The 4th defendant, Lee Yudong, was given an additional charge for making false declaration for an entry permit. 3 of these men were released on bail at 2,100 kina each 3 months ago. Lee Yudong was released at 2,800 kina. They are currently out on bail at 9,900 kina. The delay of the court case involving these 4 Chinese men for breaching the Migration Act since July this year at Leh District Court was due to the unavailability of an interpreter. Last week, Friday, this man was identified by the defendant's counsel as the interpreter in the courtroom. Magistrate Kupo told the counsel and the police prosecutor to submit the sentencing in order for Kupo to make the decision today. However, the defendant's counsel was not ready to do the submission for all 4 defendants. The decision was urgent to Wednesday this week. Julie Badui Owa, National MTV News, Leh.
Turning overseas now, thousands of Central American migrants are making their way through the Mexican border with Guatemala on their way to the United States, desperate to escape violence, poverty and corruption. The migrants are heading north, ignoring warnings from US President Donald Trump that he will close the border and call up the military to stop them.
There was no hiding the joy of these migrants as they surged past Mexican police to continue their arduous journey north to America. Pretty soon it started to become clear just how many people had made it across the border from Guatemala. All week, Donald Trump's been demanding that Mexico stops the migrants. For a while, further down the road, it looked like riot police would try. We saw them form lines and hold up the convoy. And for a time, the mood seemed tense. But nobody here seemed to think it was the end of their journey to the US. We don't need cars and buses, says this man. I started walking 8 days ago and won't stop here. And suddenly, in a scene that won't go down well at the White House, the Mexican police were given the order to stand down, return to their buses, and allow the many hundreds of migrants to pass unhindered. Over the weekend, it had looked like the Mexican border might be impassable, with the gate closed and all the migrants stuck on the bridge from Guatemala, the scale of this convoy having been revealed. After coming so far, getting stuck there was the breaking point for many who took up offers from the Guatemalan military to be bussed back home. But we witnessed just how so many others avoided the authorities, their determination and obvious desperation to escape the lives they left behind in Honduras, compelling them to take rafts to cross the border. Although the United States' promise over the generations has been to take in those seeking prosperity and a better life, a sight like this will horrify many Americans.
Saudi Arabian officials have now admitted Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi was murdered in what they claim was, quote, a rogue operation. It's a turnaround from previous denials of responsibility following Khashoggi's disappearance after entering the Saudi consulate in Istanbul earlier this month.
New pictures have now emerged of Jamal Khashoggi walking towards the Saudi consulate in Istanbul and towards his death. More and more countries are now demanding the truth, the whole truth. The Saudi explanation that he died in a fist fight has been all but rejected by many governments. And where is his body? Europe's 3 major powers have now come together to condemn the killing in the strongest possible terms. Their joint statement says, "The threatening, attacking or killing of journalists under any circumstances is unacceptable and of utmost concern to our 3 nations. We will ultimately make our judgment based on the credibility of the further explanation we receive about what happened and our confidence that such a shameful event cannot and will not ever be repeated." And Saudi Arabia is changing its story again, now admitting Mr. Khashoggi was murdered in the consulate. But still, their foreign minister insists his government doesn't know where the journalist's body is. The world is waiting for Turkey's President Erdogan. His police and security services are leading the investigation and have already leaked stories of torture and murder. The president says he'll reveal more on Tuesday.
We are seeking justice, and this incident will be entirely revealed. Entirely. Why did 15 people come to Istanbul? Why were 18 people arrested? This must be revealed in detail.
So will the slowly unfolding story increase suspicions about the role of this man, Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman? Many people insist he must have authorised the targeting of his most influential critic, Jamal Khashoggi. And will major powers, including Britain, really punish Saudi Arabia, a key energy supplier and a big spender too? Most governments are delaying, waiting for more facts. They may not have much longer to wait.
Filming has begun in West Auckland for the multi-million-dollar TV series of the movie, The Deadlands. It's the first time New Zealand series has been commissioned directly for the American market, and that's provided a challenge around its terrestrial contact.
On a show about the dead, this is a world slowly coming alive.
Here we go, everyone, lock it down.
This is the closest One News is allowed to get to filming on the Deadlands set. Access is restricted because it's big. It's been made for AMC, the same network that made Breaking Bad, Mad Men and The Walking Dead.
This is New Zealand as New Zealand with Māori culture, New Zealand with only Māori actors, being taken into literally the biggest television markets in the world.
I'd been working on this for 3 or 4 weeks, and I was driving home on a Friday night, and I just suddenly went, I'm making Māori Game of Thrones. So, woohoo!
The Deadlands series is inspired by the 2015 Māori martial arts movie of the same name.
There is some bad stuff going on in this world. The dead are coming back to life, and that's a problem you've got to solve.
Te Kohe Tūhaka was in the movie and is returning as a new character.
Waka is on a journey of trying to figure out what it means to be an honourable warrior. It's kind of like he's the character that are in all the fables.
Another significant change, this version's in English, not te reo Māori.
You're delivering Māori content that is pre-colonial in an English language. How does it remain authentic? So that's what concerns us the most.
To make a Māori project in English meant mining the script a little bit further to look for a form of English that reflects Māori thinking.
It's an opening too that may help tell more Māori stories on the world stage.
For those Māori stories that we all know, the Maoris of the world, the Paikeas of the world, all of those kōrero, I hope it just helps when people see this, just to give them a little nudge to, less hui, more dui, and then put it up there.
The show's set to hit screens in 2019.
A New Zealand skydiver is claiming the record for the highest skydive in the country. Wendy Smith jumped from 25,000 feet above Motueka as part of the region's Lift-Off Festival.
Her home province, Tasman, spread out 25,000 feet beneath her. Skydiver Wendy Smith has never seen it from this high up.
I could see the North Island, all through the strait, coast to coast. It was really stunning.
She's jumped 21,000 times before, the holder of 10 world records, now adding a New Zealand one.
This is definitely a first for New Zealand.
The country's highest ever skydive, heralding the start of the weekend's Lift-Off Festival, bringing balloons, skydivers and visitors to the Tasman district.
When they flew through the Mutiri Valley on Friday and told me that it was the best flight they'd ever had, and that most of them had never been to the region before, and the balloons had never flown here.
We actually do need more of these events around the country so people can actually see the balloons, because most people don't see a balloon, and it is pretty special.
The Kaiteri camping ground at summer capacity for the spectacular night glow, believed to be the first time in the world that such an event has been staged on a beach.
When they're all successfully standing up and glowing like little light bulbs, I just think they look amazing.
Balloonists say they're keen to return. Residents and retailers eager to welcome them back.
I think it's a start, really. I mean, because you've got 9 balloons. How many balloons are we going to get next year? What can we add on to it?
Next to visit, though, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. They're coming here in a week and putting the Tasman district in the spotlight again.
Here with National EMTV News this Monday. We go for a break. When we come back, some sporting updates in Trukai Sports. Don't go away.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. We begin with Rugby League. The PNG Kumuls had a training session this afternoon at the Oil Search National Football Stadium. Changes have been made to the team lineup with a few players added to the squad.
Aseboaz has been named in the team to replace Lachlan Lamb, while Stanford Talita was forced to withdraw from the team to focus on his studies.
We brought him in to replace Lachlan Lamb. He couldn't come up because of the Roosters commitment, so Trent Robinson wanted him to stay back and complete his pre-season starting next month, so that's important for him. So we had to pull, we had young halves in there, Edwin Pepe, but we also just need a backup experienced player.
323 players in the likes of Woods Kawage, Brandon Nima and Edwin Ipape have been named in this weekend's lineup and may make their debut for the Kumuls this weekend in Lae.
All 3 of them, they're all young, so they're learning a lot, which makes not giving them too much information. So the senior players are talking to them, and they're willing to learn every session. So
this weekend's team will see the absence of James Sigiaro and Kyle Leibat. Both players will join the team next week Monday.
Kyle will be up here for the last game. That's just they're still on their break. That's just something they planned before, so we can't really rush them in. But depending on how we go this weekend, they could come up and not play, but they've been included in the side. So
Nene McDonald will arrive in the country tomorrow before the team leaves for Lae on Wednesday. Elijah Levette, National EMTV Sports.
And PNG Kumuls captain David Mead says he's looking forward to the match in Lae. He says playing the England Knights will be tough, with many of the players coming from the English Super League competition. He's also excited to play alongside the 4 debutants named in the Kumuls lineup.
Always nice to see some new faces in the team. There's obviously guys on the edges there who are pushing for spots. It's always exciting. They bring a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of energy, so I'm looking forward to going out and playing with the new guys in the team. Yeah, I think I actually played in Lae in 2011, Prime Minister's game. We didn't get the result up there, but it was a bit of a crazy game. All the fans wanted to get inside the stadium, and not many could get inside, but it just shows how much people love rugby league up there. So I'm looking forward to going up to Lae and hopefully getting a win for PNG.
And don't go anywhere, we'll have more of Trukai Sports after these messages.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. Brendan Hartley has completed a career best result at the US Grand Prix. He originally finished just 11 points outside, but after a couple of late disqualifications, he's moved to 9th.
A career best finish for Brendan Hartley, but the Kiwis far from happy.
Obviously having to answer questions about my future every week, which is getting increasingly annoying. And I've read in the media I need to be my teammate. I was ahead in Singapore before team orders. I've been ahead in Russia before the car broke down. I was ahead in Suzuka qualifying, and I was ahead today. So let's see what happens.
Speculation around Hartley's future continues after bagging only 4 championship points with 3 rounds remaining.
It's only been the last 2 races where that impact has come, and that's typical for a driver to say, look, I am able to do this, but it's probably too late.
But as far as career best finishes goes, this ranks pretty highly for Ferrari's Kimi Raikkonen.
Kimi Raikkonen wins
wins the US Grand Prix.
After 5 years and 113 races, the 39-year-old breaks the record for the longest drought between 2 race victories. It was expected Lewis Hamilton would claim the F1 championship this weekend, but Raikkonen had other ideas. Hamilton needed to outscore Ferrari's Sebastian Vettel to win the title, and that looked possible.
Sebastian Vettel has now been spun 180 degrees.
The first lap collision pushing Vettel down but not out has dropped to 5th, enough to help Hamilton settle the championship. But blistered tyres and a surge from Red Bull's Max Verstappen, who started from 18th on the grid, saw the Brits' chances slip away.
Lewis Hamilton settles for 3rd place, and the title fight will carry on to Mexico.
For Hamilton, it doesn't matter when he wins the championship, as long as he gets it done.
For only the second time in the club's history, the Wellington Phoenix have kick-started their season with a win, and in his A-League debut in the sidelines, Mark Rudden was named Coach of the Week. It wasn't always a pretty sight, and they've had their fair share of good luck as they ran out 2-1 winners against last year's grand finalists, Newcastle Jets.
Mark Rudden said it best after becoming the first ever Phoenix coach to win his first A-League game in charge.
You've got one chance to make a good first impression.
A 2-1 win in front of more than 9,000 fans at home is as close to the perfect start as Phoenix fans would have dared to dream. But Rudden knows the journey has only just begun.
Round one, you're going to get a cliche here, but there's a long way to go. There's a lot of improvement left in us as well.
Import keeper Philippe Courteau put in some crucial saves on debut, but even he couldn't stop Dimitri Petratos' strike of the day in the 95th minute. But as has been the case across opening weekend, it was the VAR that stole the show. Phoenix midfielder Sarpreet Singh had this goal disallowed for handball. Rudden's reaction was pretty clear, but even Newcastle and former Phoenix coach Ernie Merrick thought they got it wrong.
And if it touched his arm, it was really incidental. It was really a goal. I didn't see anything wrong with that.
But in Rudden's words, it evened itself out when the Phoenix were awarded a penalty for this contact on Mitch Nichols, even after play continued for more than a minute.
He has given a penalty. How far do we go back, and whose call is that? I mean, do we go all the way back to the toss of the coin? Because I'm pretty sure we called heads, and they said it was tails.
Roy Krishna rode his luck by scoring the rebound, equalling Paul Eiffel's club record of 33 goals.
He's been here for a very long time, but we want this year to be his best ever.
And with that being Krishna's first ever goal in a Phoenix season opener, fans will hope it's a sign of things to come.
And that's it for Trukai Sports. We go for a break. When we come back, we take a look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
A look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours in the southern region. Fine and 32 degrees for Daru. Cloud with some showers expected in Port Moresby with a top of 31. 31 degrees and rain and showers expected for the next 24 hours for Kerama, Alotau and Popondetta. To the Momasi region, cloudy and some showers expected for Leh with a top of 31 degrees. Rain and showers in Wau. Some rain and showers expected in Madang and Wewak with a top of 30 degrees, 31 degrees and thundery showers expected in Vanimo. To the Niugini Islands region, rain and showers expected in Lorengau and Kavieng, thundery showers in Kokopo, Rabaul and Kimbe, and some showers with a top of 31 degrees in Buka. And in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg, all these major centres can expect some rain and showers over the next 24 hours with early morning fog developing. So look at the forecast for small ships, but there is a renewal for a strong wind warning for all coastal waters. Strong southeasterly winds of 25 to 34 knots are expected to persist for the next 24 hours, causing rough seas. All small craft and boats are advised to take the necessary precautions before and after going out to sea. So we'll look at the forecast for small ships for the next 24 hours. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island to Kerma, Yule Island, Hood Point, Samurai Island, and with the waters of Long Island to Madang, Bogia, Wiwak, Aitape, Vanimo, and the northern PNG Indonesian border, and waters of Manus and its western group of islands, and waters of New Island to East New Britain and Bougainville, sea 0.5 to 1.5 meters. Waters of eastern and western Min Bay Islands, sea 0.5 to 2 meters. Waters of Finchafen through Vitias and Dampier Strait to Siasi Island to Long Island, seas 2 to 3 meters, and waters of West New Britain, seas 2 to 2.5 meters. Now look at the ocean forecast for PNG areas. Coral Sea, sea slight with east to southeasterly winds at 15 to 20 knots. Solomon Sea, sea slight to moderate with southeast to southwesterly winds at 15 to 20 knots. Bismarck Sea, seas moderate to rather rough with southeast to southwesterly winds at 15 to 33 knots. And the Pacific Ocean, sea slight with east to southeasterly winds at 10 to 15 knots.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
And that's the news, sport and weather for today, Monday the 22nd of October 2018. On behalf of the entire MTV News team in Port Moresby and around the country, pleasant viewing. Enjoy the rest of your week. Good night.